Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Joel Heitkamp.
Hey, thank you guys. Thanks for inviting me.
Who is your favorite guest, Ben, that you've ever interviewed?
I've had Joe Biden on. I've recorded Barack Obama, spoke to George W., but didn't have him on the show. I've asked a question at a press conference of Donald Trump. You know, if you want, we could call the governor right now. But and that's not meant to brag because because I don't. That is a tremendous institution, which proof positive. Look at how successful you guys are. Here's the thing: I could.
How did you lock in an interview with Joe Biden? All right, welcome back to the Beyond the Spotlight podcast hosted by myself. My name is Jack.
And I'm Aiden.
Today we have Joel here with us. Welcome to the show, Joel.
Hey, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Giant Snacks, Brushmark Signs, Digital Guru, Woods and Irons, and All Sauger Meats. Without you guys, we would not be here right now, so thank you. Joel is a former politician and the host of the News and Views show on KFGO, the most listened to talk show radio program in North Dakota. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Joel Heitkamp.
Hey, thank you guys. Thanks for inviting me.
Yes, those are your well-known highlights. Now let's get beyond the spotlight. How are you doing today?
Doing well. It finally isn't raining. I've noticed that it's changed everybody's mood. I don't know if it's changed yours, but I'm all of a sudden happy.
Yeah,
100%. I felt like a different person today when you go outside and it's been raining for a week.
Yeah.
And then it's finally sunny.
Finally get some work done and basically bale your yard. You saw the grass growing, but you couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You get to do your job twice today. You get to come on and be a part of the
It's all right.
radio.
Yeah, it's fun. You guys, I saw you at the State College of Science. I could see how professional and how good you already were at this. So when you called, it was like, hell yeah, let's do this thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. So where did you originally grow up?
Oh, I grew up in a little town called Matador, which is on the rail on the old Sioux line, but now CP rail between but it's CP rail between Winemere and Hankinson. So it's just a little town of 100 people.
Sure.
My family was a tenth of the population.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
So then after growing up, you went to high school there, I'm sure then?
Yep.
And then did you go to college?
Yeah, I went to the University of North Dakota.
Okay. And did you
Does that make you mad?
No,
I just like to
no.
check.
Well, you're a big supporter of NDSCS. So.
Huge supporter of NDS.
Hey, we'll take any North Dakota
What did you
school.
go for?
I went for communication. I saw myself being a sports broadcaster. That's what I wanted to be when I was into the college mode. I always joke on my show that I was pre-law for a week, pre-med for 2 weeks. I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. Is what I wanted to be, and never achieved that. So
Why didn't you? Like, what did you do right outside of college?
well, my dad, I was really close to my dad, but my dad worked for a rural water system. I don't know how familiar you are with those, but he, in 1982, got sick with cancer, and he went really fast. Anyway, he asked me to take the fall semester off at UND and work with him while he took chemo. Well, within 6 months, we lost him. The rural water system asked me to stay on. I stayed on figuring, okay, I'll be here for, a year or so. 23 years later, I had 2 kids, a wife, and
And then
Really?
there you were.
And you worked there that whole entire time?
23 years. Yeah. The time I was in the state Senate, except for, I think, 2 sessions, I was working for rural water. And when I went to work for radio, the law, you can't run for elected office when you're in the media. You can't.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah, because you actually can, but you have to give your opponent equal time. So I'm live on air on all these radio stations for 3 hours.
Yeah.
So how are you going to give that to somebody else? So basically I had to get out of politics. So,
Sure.
So when did you get into politics right away then?
all that stuff started when I was in my teens. My grandmother was very active in the Nonpartisan League, the old Dem NPL. And, so you went to conventions and they merged with the Democratic Party before I came along. They were already the Dem NPL. But,
Which eventually just became like the Democratic Party, or what do you mean Dem
it still
NPL?
calls itself the Dem NPL.
Okay, it does. Okay.
Yeah, the Nonpartisan League is still a big part of that. In fact, they're a little bit at war right now.
Interesting.
And they should be. They should be redefining and getting after it. I get that. But yeah, my sister Heidi was a United States Senator. She was tax commissioner. She was Attorney General. She was all of those things elected. I ran at 32 years old for the state Senate and won.
Sure.
And
then that's okay. So we have a lot of younger viewers. So for those people out there, explain what your job was as a state senator.
State senator. Okay, so I covered kind of a broad area. I covered part of Dickey County, Ransom, Sargent, Western Richland County. So a big broad area. So what you did was you held a lot of meetings. Melrose was in my district, so I had a lot of union members that I was representing, a lot of farmers, ranchers, small business people like yourself, you'd talk to, you'd work on issues like workers' comp and, payroll tax, and you'd try to help people solve those problems. And mostly economic development. That was what I loved the most, was working on, the infrastructure needed to do the job, which, you guys know this. Look at the shop, look at what you're doing here, the investment you've made. You can't do that without an investment that isn't going to make you money for a while. Right. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So how did you do that? How did you help these local businesses in all these different places?
Oh, you make coalitions. When I was in the Senate, the Democrats and the Republicans were very close. In fact, the Democrats had the majority right before I went there, and we only were one seat down from the majority when I was there for a big part of it. So since then, the Democratic Party has done very, very poorly. But so you had the power to really make those connections and those friends, and
with just policy change, basically, is how you're helping.
Yeah,
and just representing
and you
your
introduce
area.
legislation.
Okay. It kind of helps that I'm nowhere near an expert in politics at all, because then I can relate to a lot of the viewers, I'm sure, as well.
Well, you live in an area here, you do business in an area here where, say, you wanted the road widened out here, so you had better parking, right? That'd been my job to say, you know what, this is a pretty good area. Let's fund that. Let's do it. Or let's make a law that, industrial areas like this, get a road widened just so the semi can get through. You did things like that.
So basically, if a person wanted something changed or something like that, they'd go to their local politicians, and then they would take it to wherever they need to take it to hopefully make that change.
Yep, money's king.
Sure.
And then a lot of what you did that you could define as success was you'd get people to kill. There'd be bills out there that you didn't like. You're both products of the North Dakota State College of Science. And, that is a tremendous institution, which proof positive. Look at how successful you guys are. Here's the thing. I could, try to find ways to fund that. And I did. I was very successful at making sure the State College of Science got the help that they deserved and needed. And so I did a lot of work with and for NDSCS.
And so that's where your love for NDSCS came.
Oh,
then.
It was always there. I grew up around here.
Yeah.
Right.
So, years ago, I think for 1 year before I went, I took this phase, you guys, in like mid 20s, like 26, 27, I refereed State College of Science football. Then I went on and I did the Sun Conference for 2 years. And then I did the Bison, that conference for, I don't know,
Bison
17.
football?
Yeah. So I refereed that for a long time. So, yeah. So being around campus here was fun. John Richmond, good guy. He's a friend. So, yeah, I know he's gone now. He's not the president, but, it was fun to work with him.
So I'm sure you have a good time going back and hosting the Entrepreneurship Day then.
I do. I shouldn't say that. I went once so far.
Oh, was this your first year?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
I didn't know that.
Yep. Jay Schuler asked me to come and be part of, that event. And I have to tell you, I was really, really impressed. I'm not blowing smoke up your keister here, boys, but, men, but out of all of that, you guys impressed me the most.
Really?
You really
Thank
did.
you.
And that's
Thank you, yeah.
nothing against Mary, who I have tremendous amount of respect for. I was really impressed with your spirit, your entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that's really the key. some years you're going to fail, you're going to succeed, but you're trying. And I respect the heck out of that.
For the viewers who don't know what we're discussing right now, basically, Jay Schuler hosts an event at NDSCS for Entrepreneur Day or something like that, where basically he brings in 4 or 5 successful entrepreneurs and they come and share their story and what lessons they've learned from business. And so Jay wanted like a younger perspective, and so he brought me in, and then Aiden and I also shared about the podcast. So that's what.
And
that
then
was.
Joel hosted it.
Yep. Or
That was one of
MC.
the MCs.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's go into when your career took you to radio. When did you get into radio?
Well, there was a gentleman, which is a loose term. He went to like that all the time, being called a gentleman. But you guys, I don't know. Do you remember hearing about or knowing or seeing a guy named Ed Schultz?
Sounds familiar.
Okay, well, Ed Schultz was a TV broadcaster for years. He kind of made his mark as a quarterback at MSUM, at Morehead State, went on to work in TV as a sports broadcaster, then went on to do what I do now. In fact, had exactly the job I have now. And so when I was in the state Senate, I was a frequent guest of his, and Ed liked to go hunting and fishing. And so oftentimes he needed a guest host. So I would guest host for him.
So take his spot when he wanted to go hunting and fishing.
And so when I did that, you get known in terms of whether or not you can do it or not. And apparently they thought I could do it. So when Ed left and went on a national scale, they asked me to come and take the job, which, that was an easy decision to make. I didn't know if I wanted the job. I mean, I loved being in broadcasting, but I loved my old job. And I loved how my old job, we went from 500 miles of pipe to 2,700 miles of pipe. So we had grown a lot, and it was kind of time to enjoy that.
Sure. Yeah.
But I drive 65 miles, guys, one way to Fargo every day. So 130 miles every day.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot.
So then why do it? Why did you?
I loved it. I mean, I did. You get to be part of a discussion. Think of your podcast here. You get to choose what you talk about that time, but it's never the same, right? So it's like hanging out with your buddies, and this time they got a story and they got a story, and everything's different. And that's the beauty of talk radio. And we get calls in, and those calls are anonymous, so people are quite passionate. On today's show, I got called just about every name you can by a caller, which actually is why you get good ratings.
Wait, so when people do cuss and when they call in, is there like a
airs?
Buffer where the
there's
radio,
a 7-second delay,
and then can you cut it off, or does that still play?
No, you cut it off. You hit the red button, and then you got 7 seconds.
Wow.
But the thing about the 7-second delay, when you guys end up doing this thing live, is when you hit that button, it needs to regenerate. So don't let them get rid of the caller, get rid of the guest, do whatever. But if you let them talk right away and they cuss, then it's on air. You see what I mean? It takes a while to regenerate that ability to lose 7 seconds.
And so you cut him off before he cussed today?
No, he didn't.
He didn't cuss. He just called you
He just
names.
called me names.
Gotcha.
I was pretty used to it, reffing football.
Okay, so we know that there's like a shift in less AM radio being used all the time. I saw a news interview where you were discussing AM radio potentially not being put into newer vehicles. What do you think about that shift, and do you think AM radio is actually going away?
Oh, I think that there's generations where they don't understand or use AM radio. I think that they're going to get to there. I manage the radio side of what I do. So I manage the employees, and, it's my job to look ahead to the future. So we took 790 AM KFGO, and we took that and added it onto 104.7 FM.
Yep.
And so there's a big new young audience that scans that FM dial now that listens to talk radio, and they enjoy talk radio. And then, of course, we do podcasts are big.
Yep.
Blogs are big. I require everybody to do a lot of that. So it isn't just one form of media or medium anymore. You do everything you can, and it's all about getting an audience, right?
So can you explain like your day to day? Like you 8:00 you're doing your radio, your live radio, and then when do you do your podcasts, or are they all kind of at the same time, the same talks, just put out in different platforms?
Yeah, you pull sound from the show and put that into podcasts.
Gotcha.
If it's really popular, you don't do it all. There's segments that are like nobody's going to click on that, right? It's just bound to be.
And you have an editor that does that, I'm guessing? Okay.
I do. She actually grew up here in town here. Perry Miller, county commissioner here in Richland County, big supporter. His daughter Abby works with me and basically is my boss.
So then you just take up segments and put them onto the podcast. And then what was the rest of the question? Like, what else does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah. Yep.
So let me just walk you through it. So I get up every day at about 4:30, right? I start reading. I read the New York Times. I read the Fargo Forum. I read KFGO.com. I read a lot of things on Facebook. I'll tell you, what's kind of weird is a lot of the information you get that, people are buzzing about is on X. It's on Twitter, so follow that real close. I don't go on Instagram. That isn't my thing. I know others are using it. But so by the time I get on the road, I already have a pretty good understanding of what's going to happen that day.
Sure.
And then once I get there, Abby does a good job lining up guests. I line up guests. And so you get in there and we'll start with sports, and then we'll go news, and we'll try local as much as we could, and then we'll go national. And once I'm done with that, then I'm meeting clients, trying to make sure the revenue keeps coming in, making sure they know what we can do on their behalf, meeting with staff a lot to see what we can all do better, what we're doing great, and to thank them for that. Today I cut a bunch of commercials, a bunch of, I can read them all off for you.
Sure.
Hey, get your next Ford from Ward. That kind of thing. Yeah.
So one thing that I wanted to ask, going back to talking about like where people are getting their media outlets from, and even where you're getting your sources from, like Facebook, other social medias, are you nervous at all about the future of the radio with like people being able to listen to podcasts? Bluetooth devices are everywhere. Every car has them now. Like, are you scared that radio as a whole is going to go away, not just AM?
I think that when you look at our form of communication that we're using, it's not built for you. But by the time you get to be 35, you'll like it because you'll be way more interested in current events in terms of what's happening politically, with what you own, with what your taxes are, with all of that.
Sure.
I mean, right now you're knocking your head against the wall, making sure you bust through with that business, right? Well, when you've got to make payroll, when you've got to pay workers' comp, when you've got to do all those things, you want to go to a format where you can ask advice, where you can do all of that. Well, talk radio is that. So I don't think it's going to go away. The way you deliver it might change. Like we mentioned, podcasts like you're doing right now. I don't think TV would be jumping up and down for what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Right. But you're ahead of the curve. Right. Well, in radio, we have to be ahead of that curve. And we have to go where the listeners are. Being at the veteran home, being out in Williston when the oil boom's going on, being at Target Field when the Twins start, I'm on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And so if you can bring that to them, you stay relevant.
You guys obviously do a great job with it too, because you guys have a ton of viewers, a ton of people that listen to you, tune in every day. And I know a lot of my family listen to you. And like when I mentioned your name, they're like, really? You got him on? Like you're like pretty well known, but would you say that because you mentioned that you manage it, right? A little bit. You manage it for the most part. So you take those initiatives to improve it, to go to that place. So that's all under your control,
right.
Would you say?
If you're not improving, then you're going backwards. If you're not trying new things, example like this, we haven't gotten good enough at what you're doing here. We need to be better at this. We've done some of it, but we haven't done it, I think, in the right way. Because I think radio, and you're seeing it with many other people successful in radio, they're bringing it to people visually. And we do need to do better at that. So we can learn a lot from being in this room here. I would say that, when it comes to delivering the product, it comes to the talent. I mean, look at you two, and then look at your classmates. Think of who you know that you made great friends with at science, but would they want to be in that chair? Right?
Sure. Right.
So when I hire, I always, people are always like, well, it's so easy. It's talk radio. It's so easy. All you got to do is talk. And I look at them and I say, okay, just really, really pay attention to me now. Keep this in mind. That's a long time without talking.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell them, go. Give me 5 minutes. And they're like, okay, I don't want to do that.
Right. Right.
And they don't realize that, it has to flow.
Yeah. And that your job as well as ours, like, may look, appealing from the outside until you realize how much back end work there is to do with it. And it's like, you really got to be passionate about it to make it worth it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're starting new. I'm sure it's a little bit better for you guys. You have ad dollars coming in, or you're more established, I should say.
Right.
Whereas we're in the beginning. And
I don't know. You're doing pretty well, guys. I think
That's what it looks like.
I think I'm going to take your giant seeds when I leave here.
Hey, wait till the end of the show. You'll see. When it comes to quality meats, trust the experts at All Sauger Meats. Family owned and operated with locations in Ottoman, Fargo, and now open in Breckenridge.
From hand-cut steaks to in-house made sausage, fresh seafood to smoked bacon, they have everything you need to elevate your meals.
They're open 7 days a week in Breckenridge, so stop in whenever you need. Plus, check out our meat bundle packages and our bulk beef orders for unbeaten value.
Visit allsaugermeats.com or stop into your local All Sauger store and experience the difference in every bite.
All Sauger Meats, your trusted source for quality and freshness. Thank you, All Sauger Meats.
Need a smarter way to manage your business IT?
Digital Guru's Desktop as a Service gives you a secure access to your desktop, files, and apps from anywhere.
No more expensive servers or security worries. Windows, Office 365, email, and more is stored safely in the cloud, keeping your data protected and your team connected on any device. Take control of your IT today.
Click the link in our description to visit digitalguru.com to get started now. Thank you so much, Digital Guru, for hooking it up with these microphones.
Enjoy our next ad.
Brushmark Signs is a family-owned and operated business out of Detroit Lakes, Minnesota.
They are a one-stop shop for visual marketing.
Their designers can create logos, banners, indoor and outdoor signs,
digital message boards, decals, and apparel,
as well as promotional items, window tinting, and more, and they ship nationwide. So if you're interested,
give them a call at
218-847-3599
or visit brushmarksigns.com.
Seriously, you guys, Brushmarks hooked it up. They came and installed these signs today, so super thankful for Brushmarks. You guys got to check them out if you have any sign needs. Now let's get back to the podcast. But no, have you ever had any absolutely crazy call-ins or any memorable moments from call-ins on your show that you could talk about?
I've had people waiting in the lobby for me that, I've had death threats. I've had
really?
Yeah,
That's
we
ridiculous.
put secure I've had people pull guns out of pickups and it's I've opened
while you're driving?
Oh, not while I'm driving, but when I'm at certain places. I'll give you an example. Okay. There was a gentleman named Craig, not a good person. Okay. Craig had been in jail. He wanted to, and he was like posse. He was posse comitatus. He hated the government, hated everything. And he would go to these areas, in this case, a town called Leith. The name of it was Leith. It only had 10 people in it. So he buys an old schoolhouse, no electricity, no water, no sewer, those type of things. And he and the other radical righties go in there, and they're going to claim the town, right? Mm-hmm. So the town calls me, and they say, hey, can you help get word out? Can you come out here, do the show, do all of this? I go do the show because you're helping out. And it's relative. The whole area, the whole state, the whole region, even on a national scale, they're talking about it. So make sure that I see his gun. He runs to where I do the show. The sheriff and the deputy were there. And, it's the nature of the job. And then the next day, you might be talking about the Minnesota Twins.
Oh, my
You know
God.
what I mean? Yeah.
So why didn't he want you to talk about it?
Because I wasn't on his side.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, no, I there's no way should have been in Leith, North Dakota, doing to that community what he was doing.
Sure.
As far as I was concerned, he should have been in jail. So, and I got that across on air, and I made sure that the people, I invited him on air. He was too chicken to come on air.
Sure.
I'd promised I wouldn't cuss on here, but yeah.
No,
it's
all right.
But he was chicken, right? So he wasn't coming on air. So,
Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yeah. So being in for those of you who don't know, you do talk quite a bit of politics.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you do get a lot of hate. How often are people calling to ask genuine questions, and how often is it like they're just trying to
Argue?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of it's genuine.
Sure.
We were talking earlier about different forms of communication. When I first started, I've been in this 23 years, not 23, 21 or 2 years, whatever. So I've been in it for a long time. And it used to be all calls. I mean, that's how you got messages across, was all calls. And calls are still number one with me. If you call, you're the first one that's going to be on the show. But a lot of what we get now is by text. And so people will text into the show. They still have that anonymity. They can, still make sure that message gets out. You don't let them all get on, because some of them, they don't behave like their mother told them to. But yeah, I mean, it's another form of beginning a conversation. And today when we left, I think we got about 4 phone lines in there, and all 4 were full. That's a good sign of a good show. And when you get up and you leave and it went really fast and you wish you had another hour, because that's a sign of a good show. And trust me, I've been in that room when it wasn't a good show.
Sure.
So, yeah, I know the difference.
So how much of your personal opinion are you able to share whatever you want?
Sure.
Or is there anything where that you might have to hold back a little bit on air?
Never. Yeah. No, I'm going to say what I want to say.
Do you don't ever feel afraid of saying something without totally thinking about it, because that's recorded? Like if you say something bad and it's on air, in 1 year, people could come back and
they have. They have.
Sure.
There's predictions I've made that have come back and they said, see, you were wrong, and you got to live with that. You got to admit it, admit you're wrong. If you say something that just simply wasn't right, or you might have to come on and say, hey, I was wrong about that one. Sorry, kind of a thing. The biggest thing to keep in mind is to not confuse what I do with journalism.
Sure.
Journalism is a whole different thing. You've got a newsman, Paul Juergens, award-winning, the head of our news team at KFGO. He double checks, triple checks everything before he finds out. I came to him with a hot tip yesterday that I knew was right? I knew it was right. He wasn't going to put it on right away until he had double checked it, triple checked, and he trusts me. It's just that's his profession. Mine isn't. I can speculate. I can come on and do what I knew was right yesterday, which is get word out that the governor goofed up the housing bill.
Sure.
and $35 million got the axe because he wanted to line item veto $150,000. And that was a major ups, a $35 million ups. It's going to cost a special session, I believe. So special session costs a lot of money. So it's news. It's good. And I like the governor. I mean, I'm not trying to bash the governor. I'm just saying that when I hear that and I know it's true and I've got a good source, I'm going to get it on the radio.
Right.
When Paul hears it and he's got good, he's still going to double check. He's a journalist. I'm a speculator.
So in your career, has there been any like major topics or just like challenging topics that you've had to put on air? Maybe some that are very controversial?
Well, we're in the middle of one right now that out of my whole career, this one ranks either number one, certainly in the top 5, which is a man I worked with in the state Senate, Ray Holmberg, chairman of the Appropriations Committee. I worked with him many times to get money for science. He always helped me out, but Ray has been caught and convicted and is in jail for 10 years for being a pedophile. And he was using state money to travel to do that. And we were a big part of KFGO of getting that word out. And that's caused a lot of angst, a lot of people mad at me. And, we're evolving that story, getting word out of people that were involved and who knew, and doing open records when it comes to the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Attorney General's Office. And right before I came on air with you, or right before we started, recording this, I got a call from the Attorney General, and he was returning my call. I don't want to make it sound like he was reaching out to me.
Yeah.
But I have a number of questions for him in regards to some open records. So this story's big. It's really big. And
so you really like to chase like the next big thing. You're kind of like the news.
Right.
You like to try and find the next topic that's going to be.
If you want people to listen, if you want people to listen, you've got to. You got to find out what they're talking about at the coffee table at the Senex over here. And if you're not doing that, then you're not doing your job.
So, with your connection with like the Attorney General and you being almost like a news outlet, are you like in connections with a lot of the local politicians, or like how do you find all of the stuff that you're going to post or you're going to talk about on your show? Like you said, social media, but do you have connections with people like politicians, I guess? Does that question make sense?
Sure. Let me show something that I'm going to test you on. You ready?
Yeah.
Do you know what a Rolodex is?
No.
Exactly. That's because you're young and smart. You would call it a contact list, right? You would call it my contacts in my phone.
Yep.
In my old days, it was called a Rolodex. You spun it and all these papers, and that was a Rolodex. Anyway, my contact list is very extensive, and you can't abuse it. I mean,
right.
If you want, we could call the governor right now, but and that's not meant to brag because because you don't abuse that. You don't. But you may get a call from him saying, "Hey, you got to get this on the air," and it may be, Joel, you got to talk to my emergency manager because there's a fire out here. And I mean, it may be just, I got to get word out. What they're saying is a lie, or here's his communications director. But you got to know each other and you got to trust each other. So
I think the better version of my original question was, do people reach out to you like the governor or people of that position to put stuff on the show?
Yeah, it's usually the other way around more.
Okay.
I mean, I reach out to them way more. And there might be nothing there. I mean, I reached out to the governor's office yesterday because I got the story before anyone else about the goof up that he had, the $35 million mistake.
Yeah.
And it was just a mistake. I mean, I don't think the governor was vicious. I think he's a rookie governor, made a big time mistake.
Sure.
And I think he's going to fix it. But it's a story. And so we reached out to the governor's office. They said, look, we're going to issue a statement on this. It'll probably come out after your show.
Gotcha.
I don't think he did it to make sure it was after my show. I think he did it because that's when all the lawyers could get together. And, at least that's what I want to think.
You hope he's not avoiding your show with that.
Well, he was on my show taking, calls, messages, that type of thing. The governor was on a week ago. He comes on every month, and we spend a half hour to an hour. So,
who is your favorite guest, Ben, that you've ever interviewed?
Sports. I'm big into sports. I had a chance. My hero when I was growing up was Alan Page. Got a chance to talk to him. Not a lot of your viewers are going to know who he was, but that was huge. I've had Joe Biden on. I've recorded Barack Obama. Did some of that. Spoke to George W., but didn't have him on the show. I've asked a question at a press conference of Donald Trump, so you get to be around those guys. But the fun ones are the ones that'll surprise you. The guest that comes on and just you don't realize it's going to be that good.
Yeah.
And then you take it longer and longer and longer. And, I'm going to age myself again. So, but there was nightly talk show hosts. In my case, it was Johnny Carson. And if the segment was really good, he'd hang on to that guest, right? We'll schedule based upon how long a segment should be. And then if it's really good, you're hanging on and you're bumping the next one. And, and it might surprise you to be all get out who is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to go back to some of those more notable ones that you've had on, like Joe Biden. Like, how did that even come about? And one guest that I do want to talk about first that I think you should have on is Kevin O'Leary. You know Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. He is, just because he is huge in North Dakota. He's been to UND. I've seen a ton of videos. He just loves North Dakota. So I think that would be a really fun guest to have on.
And usually guys like him, as popular and notable as what he is, it's not hard if you think to do it, because they understand the importance of the medium. They understand the importance of promotion. If there's someone famous, for example, that's written a book, you know, and you call and it's like, you bet, we'll come on.
But how do you call? Like, well, how do you get that
They
first
usually
step?
have agents. They usually have people that you can go through. You know, it's really not as hard as you may think.
Yeah.
It isn't.
We must just be missing it.
Yeah. Well, how do we find these agents? Honestly, I'm actually curious, like, what the first step is to finding the connection to this.
A really
any
good
person.
Rolodex. No, no. You know, persistence. I mean, there's always, you know, I'm sure you go on their website or on their Facebook page or whatever, but, you know, don't be afraid to get told no.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, so what if you get told no?
Right.
I mean, you know, you've been to a dance and a girl said no.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just stay with it until finally, in many cases, they're like, all right, you know, I'll just do this thing, you know?
Yeah.
And then they might have fun.
So for the most part, you're reaching out to these guests, though?
Oh, yeah.
Would you say?
Oh yeah, you know, if they're reaching out to me, it's usually because they're selling something, or they certainly want to get
promote
out their side of it.
Yeah.
They're in trouble. They're promoting. I'm going to be at the Veterans Home tomorrow for my Memorial Day show in Lisbon, and once word got out that I was there, I got a call from their community development on some of the projects they're working at, saying, "Hey, could you give me a little time?" You know, and of course, I'm from rural North Dakota, man. If you're smart enough to call me and ask for 5 minutes on the radio, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, how did you lock in an interview with Joe Biden?
Well, I know someone who knew him. I'm really good friends with, he was vice president then, so he wasn't
Sure.
president. But Kent Conrad, good friend, former United States Senator from North Dakota. Of course, Heidi.
Yep.
My sister Heidi I've had a lot of opportunities because of my big sister. A lot. I was in Cuba when Barack Obama broke down that barrier, you know, and so I was right there. I was on the White House. This is all going to sound like bragging, but this is
No, this is where you do that stuff. Like, it's
right.
okay.
So I was on the grounds at the White House when Barack Obama was president, and you know, the Pope was there. Pope Francis was there, and so I was, you know, 100 yards, maybe 200 yards away, being raised a Catholic boy, you know, altar voice. So it was really like, wow, don't take this stuff for granted.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
those kind of
awesome.
things. Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier that you have a whole bunch of different topics. You talk about sports, politics, local stuff. What do you enjoy most to talk about, like, for topic wise? And then what do you kind of just don't really like as much?
Yeah. That's a good question. You know, I'm a sports guy, so every show is going to have some sports in it. But what I like talking about the most is current events. I think that a lot of times certain things don't get brought to the front or get talked about. And so, you know, like this Holmberg thing, like this veto thing, like this. I mean, those are all just current events, recent events. You know, we won an award for our podcast, Capital Punishment, that's on KFGO.com. We won a nationwide award for that. So, you know, those things are a lot of fun. You know, but okay, listen to this. Last night, I was asked to throw out the first pitch at the Red Hawks game. Okay.
That's
so
sweet.
So what do? I take my granddaughter, my 10-year-old granddaughter, and she is excited. She's got Red Hawks gear on. She's, you know, been thinking about it. She's been practicing. And she's just a sweetheart. We go out there and she throws the first pitch. Well, radio gave me that opportunity to let her throw the first pitch, right? I've thrown out the first pitch for the Minnesota Twins. I've had, you know, Kent Herbeck on. I've had a lot of the Twins greats on. You know, so it's an opportunity. I would suggest this for what it's worth, you guys. I know you've both got successful businesses that you're just starting. Don't quit this. You know, even if you get really busy in the other jobs, because I can tell you love it, right? So always give it a little time. Put in those extra hours because you don't know where this is going to lead.
Yeah.
You don't. And give it a chance.
I think there's a lot of opportunities that people get when they're in, like, the limelight or when they have a big social media presence. Like you said, throwing out the first pitch. We were just invited to Toronto by and all this stuff, and it's like this would have never happened if we didn't.
You're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You better be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sell a car if you got it. You better be doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's just, we're very thankful. And I 100% agree. I'm super excited to see where it goes.
Anytime something like that happens, I'm going to tell you, do it. Do it. Even if it doesn't work out the way you want, do it. And be willing to take this on the road. Go to places. Go to places where things are hot. Go to places where people are talking, where, sit in the concourse at the Fargo Dome. I don't care what it is. Find that way to bust through that door. Go to where people are.
Huge thank you to today's sponsor, Giant Snacks. Giants is a small family-owned business that specializes in premium flavor and giant snack sizes.
From sunflower seeds and pistachios, pumpkin seeds and cashews, Giants has all the great snacks you need.
Don't forget some of the great flavors that they offer, from dill pickle to sweet Thai chili.
Or whatever flavor you're craving.
Check out the newest flavor that just arrived in stores.
Big Easy cashews and Big Easy sunflower seeds.
Available now online or in a store near you. Huge thank you to Giant Snacks for sponsoring this podcast.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
Discover Woods and Irons in Wahpeton, North Dakota, your ultimate golf destination. With a family-friendly environment 6 days a week, it's the perfect spot for golfers of all ages. Adults can kick back with a drink from the driftwood, and if you're hungry, pizza is just one order away. Hours may vary during the summertime, so to check for availability for our bay, go to our website.
Whether you're sharpening your skills or just having some fun with your friends, Woods and Irons is the place to be.
Book your bay today. Thank you, Woods and Irons. So when you have big interviews with like Minnesota Twins legend or like bigger status people, how do you like stay calm and ask the right questions to these people?
Yeah. Well, I'm not one of those individuals that writes down things, which is why you two are impressing me, because you haven't been sitting there with a bunch of crib notes. It's been a conversation, but you find out based upon answers. You find out if they're in a good mood or a bad mood, if you can joke with them, if you're, they're very serious and they want you to treat them with a lot of respect. The hardest part is being able to break through, some of those areas that might involve language barriers, understanding what, they may talk in their age group that doesn't fit in with my age group.
Sure.
When I hire a producer, they're more apt to be your age, maybe a little bit older than I'm not ever going to hire someone my age.
Yeah.
I mean, I need someone who understands younger culture, and Abby is fabulous at that.
So you mentioned that you have to kind of like read the character that you're talking to, but when you're doing that, like, do you sometimes... Because you talk about politics a lot, and does it ever get argumentative? Do some people react more than others, and how do you deal with that?
Sure. Yes. I mean, the answer is yes. Is that a bad thing? No.
It's good for content.
It's a good thing. You don't want to doing it by a bunch of lies, but you want to bring out passion in people. You do, and so yes.
Do you ever get fired up? Like, do you ever get mad?
Yep. Absolutely.
You ever have like lash out or anything?
Yeah, you
like
take
that?
a break. Hey, we'll be back. But yeah, you're bound to. I think I'm pretty good at not losing my temper. But there's certain things that are button issues for me that when they do, then I'll lose my temper.
I'm sure there's some topics that you feel so passionate about that hit you personally that if somebody on the other side came at you at the wrong way, it would flick something,
sure.
And it would make you angry.
If you're picking on people of color, if you're picking on people with special needs, if you're picking on the elderly or the kids, you do one of those things, we're going to get ugly with each other, and we're going to get loud with each other, and we're going to get to the point where I'm going to make sure that where I'm at, and those are some basic things.
Are there any topics that you kind of like stay away from, like religion or some other things?
Religion's going to come into it, but you try to stay away from it because everybody out there is, I point out to people all the time, I was raised Catholic. I'm still Catholic. My wife's a Lutheran. My daughters are Lutheran, so I don't try to pretend, I always say, I don't care if people are religious. I don't care if they believe. That's their choice. That makes a lot of people mad when I say that. I'm not a reverend. I'm not a priest. It ain't my job. But religion is one where you're gonna bring out a a side to people that you don't need to bring out. And there are certain topics, abortion is one, that people don't want to talk about it.
Right.
You know, they don't. They've made up their mind one way or another. And it's just, when you say the word and you dive in, it's like, you know, you can feel them turning the dial.
So you stay away from that when it comes to your show.
Yep.
Any other big topics?
When you think about it, there's a lot of passion when it comes to schools.
School lunch. I saw you had a bunch of stuff with the school lunch
which
programs.
was total BS. They didn't fund school lunch in again, kids, right?
Yep.
I mean, this is a no-brainer. They had all the money in the world. They travel all over. Ray Holmberg, they give money to travel to Prague to abuse little kids, and we can't pay for kids' school lunch. I mean, this was wrong by this legislature. Wrong. And so, yeah, you bet. We're going to bring that up, and we're going to make some enemies along the way, and I don't care.
Wow.
Oh, not everybody loves Joel. Trust me.
Well, see, it just doesn't make any sense. Just, you have a radio show, you're allowed to voice whatever you want. You know, I guess people disagree with it, but
people
you
are
don't
crazy.
gotta be
That's
doing-
insane.
And here's the thing, because you don't avoid controversy, because you're willing to throw anything out on the table, you're going to bring out a lot of passion in people. You are. When I was in the Senate, we had death threats one time. I and Gary Nelson, who was one of the top Republicans, and one of the individuals that had contacted me contacted him and said, you know what, enough, you know, what you guys need is to get shot, kind of a thing, right? He came into the Senate. And Gary was the majority leader, Republican. I'm a Democrat, and I was the assistant leader. And I went up to Gary. I said, you know, those are the guys back there that been threatening you, been threatening me. And he said, well, follow me to my office. And he said, look at those two guys behind him. So we did. And I saw these two great big guys behind him, all dressed, suits and ties, those kind of things. I said, who are they? He said, undercover highway patrol. So there's always that.
Yeah.
Jeez,
but that's just a whole different like realm of a job though. Like, just, I don't know. I feel like if I had people that hated me so much that I just don't know if I could do what you do. That's
well, there's a lot of people that like you too, but everything's training, right? When I was young, I was refereeing an SDSU football game. Okay. There was a call in the back of the end zone.
That'll get you prepped for people not liking you if you're repping.
Well, it was SDSU against UND, and there was a call in the back of the end zone that one of our guys missed. I mean, he missed it. I think he had, admitted it once he saw the film, but it cost the game. I mean, it was that big of a call. So we go. I got to grab the ball. It's my job. I'm the umpire in a referee situation, so I'm where the linebackers are. I take the ball all the way up to the kickoff line. I've got to wait for the TV signal, so TV timeout's over. Give it to the guy to kick the ball. There's 3 seconds left in the game. I knew we were in trouble getting out of that stadium.
Yeah.
We were. There was security down in the corner of that stadium, and quite frankly, they made me look really skinny, right? So I knew we were in trouble. By the time I got off that field, I got hit with a schnapps bottle, was bleeding it's just, so I've been around situations where I've been to town hall meetings as a state senator where people have screamed at me. It's
part of the job.
Part of the job.
Yeah.
Seems like it's, kind of been a slow process where it's maybe like it didn't all hit you at once, maybe. Or you've been
learn
used to it as well.
Yeah, you learn as you go.
Do you ever get recognized? Like, how often do you get recognized? I should say you definitely do, but
you do. It's not something that you enjoy, even if it's good. It's not something you enjoy.
Really?
No, and because if you're somewhat of a humble person, which you can't be a talk show host and be completely humble, but if
True.
Yeah, you guys know. And okay, be around a bunch of your buddies and just be having a beer and have some people walk up to you, want your autograph and a selfie. What do you think your buddies are going to say right after they leave? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to take a lot of shit, and so you don't, you take the pictures, you sign the deals, you thank them for listening. They're great people for doing it. You appreciate it. But you're still going to take that crap from your buddies.
So if you're at a grocery store, do you like it or you don't like it when people come up to you and say, hey,
I think it's
listen.
part of the job. I was at a grocery store today. My wife sent me a list. So show you that I'm not completely, I got it by text, right? So I'm walking through and looking at it. And there was this couple who recognized, well, there's more than one people that recognized me, but this couple came over and wanted to talk. And you talk. It might take some time. I was planning on getting in, getting out, that kind of thing. But they were nice enough to listen to the show, nice enough to come and say hi and talk about the show. And, the day that they don't will be the day it really matters.
Sure.
Right?
When people stop.
Then you're irrelevant. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so obviously your roots are here in North Dakota. So I want to do a game about North Dakota trivia, or I want to do a trivia game for you about North Dakota, AM radio, and just like politics. So basically everything that you're surrounded by.
Bring it on.
We only have like 10 questions, so you got to try and go for 10.
If I get 5, then I'm doing like I did in high school.
There we go. I would honestly say some of these might be tough for you.
Some might be really easy though too. So
like completely irrelevant. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So the first question is, North Dakota holds one of the coldest temperature records in the United States ever. What is the lowest temperature ever recorded in the state? -50 degrees, -60 degrees, -70 degrees, or -80 degrees Fahrenheit?
I'll go 60.
That's correct. 1 for 1. Put it on the screen. 1 for 1. That was recorded in Parshall, North Dakota in 1936.
Which is crazy. Colder than Alaska?
Yeah. Well,
that's what we thought was crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Which Oscar-winning film, despite its name, only has one scene actually set in North Dakota?
I know the film. Okay. I'm sitting here. It's okay. Fargo.
Yeah, it's Fargo.
Yeah.
You seem like you have a take on that.
Because I was thinking of 2-3 movies, but I was sitting there watching the film in my head. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I still have not watched that movie.
No, me neither.
Oh, guys.
It's not even filmed in Fargo, is it?
No, but you got to watch the film. Yeah.
Okay, we got to watch it. That's our homework after this.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Just remember the wood chipper.
The wood chipper?
Joel told you about the wood chipper.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll remember that. Okay, North Dakota is the nation's leading producer of which sweet crop? Sugar beets, honey, corn syrup, or molasses?
Honey.
It is honey.
Wow.
Here we go. Is
Yeah,
that
you
3
knew
for
it.
3?
I get 2 more, I get to quit, right?
Which U.S. celebrity talk show host was born in North Dakota? Now we got options here. Oh, geez, I'm terrible with names.
Ellen DeGeneres, Carson Daly, Lawrence Welk, or Oprah Winfrey?
Oh, come on, guys. Lawrence Welk.
Yep.
Strasburg.
Yeah, born in Strasburg. Yeah. Okay. Did you interview that person?
No. Lawrence was gone by the
I
time.
don't even know. Dude, we should have done a research on who these people are, to be honest. Okay. All right. Which North Dakota governor served from 2000 to 2010 and later became a U.S. senator?
John Hoeven.
And he didn't even need the 4 answers for that.
Which U.S. president appointed former North Dakota Governor Ed Schaefer as Secretary of Agriculture?
George W. Bush.
Correct. He hasn't missed one yet.
No.
In what year did North Dakota become a state along with its partner to the south?
I'm going to say...
And wait, do you want...
No, I
multiple
think I've
choice?
got it.
Okay. But we're going to give you the X if you get it wrong, if you don't want to listen
1889.
Yeah, he got it.
Nah.
All right, we got... What?
How do you just know that?
We got
though?
like 2 more. This one's a gimme, but we'll give it to you.
Oh, yeah, this one you'll get really easily. Before I probably finish the sentence. Who was the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate from North Dakota?
Elected or served?
Elected.
Elected.
Oh, it's Heidi Heitkamp.
That's Heidi Heitkamp, yep.
But there is a woman that served before her.
Really?
Yeah, Quentin Burdick was a longtime U.S. senator, and he passed away while in office. And the governor at the time was Bud Sinner, and he appointed Quentin's wife to fill out the term.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which North Dakota city is home to the AM station KFYR 550?
Come on. Bismarck.
These are just give-me's, man.
Yeah, you got those really
about
easy.
100%. That's all we had for you.
K-Fire's like the 20th in ratings.
20th?
I don't know. I'm just saying we beat them.
Oh, sure. Are you guys number 1?
Oh, yeah.
By a long shot?
Actually, it's not even close.
Really?
And that's just the truth.
Facts, yeah.
Yeah, KFGO is the number 1 rated show. There's people that try to bust through that in Fargo. There's a couple other talk shows, and like I'll get anywhere from an 18 to a 20 share, and they'll get a 2. So
Interesting.
thank you to all those listeners.
Yeah.
out there.
If you don't mind me asking, who's like your guys' rivals then? Would it be out of state people? Or?
No, if we're going to get beat in the ratings, which we haven't, thank God, but if it's going to come close, it's going to be FM dial, classic rock and roll does really well. Country, doesn't do as well, but it's got serious competition, but it's going to be music.
Sure. Okay, so we have a rapid fire question list here for you. So just like a quick answer. Some of these we have kind of already talked about. So
Fargo.
So just like, even if I've already asked it, just answer it again. Just like a quick answer.
Okay.
Who has been your favorite guest ever?
Joe Biden.
Most awkward on-air moment.
Oh man, lots. Most awkward on-air moment just starting when I couldn't think of a name.
Okay. Craziest caller experience in show history.
Individual that called in and completely didn't know where I was, and he said, "You were supposed to be here," and he was screaming at me.
Really?
Yeah, because I was supposed to be in rugby, and I was in Harvey, and he was.
But that you didn't actually have to be there. That was just like a.
No, he was completely in the wrong spot, but he wanted to be there to, So yeah.
Sure. Okay, your most heated debate topic ever.
Oh, the one we're in now is hot. School lunch was hot.
Yeah.
But I would say back on political races, it gets really hot then.
And then last one moment that almost made you quit radio.
Oh boy, you guys are tough. I think when I was in Williston one time, and we were interviewing somebody, and they just really put a person in a position where you had to do something you didn't want to. I'm not going to give you the details, but after you left, it was like, that isn't what this job's all about.
Sure.
Yeah. And basically it was him trying to defend something he did to his wife. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I just went away and like, I'm not a cop. I'm not this. I'm not that. But,
Yeah.
I was pretty ticked.
Yeah, that's good.
So for any young kids that might want to be on the radio someday, what advice would you have for them?
Talk, meet, never be afraid to meet someone, walk up to a complete stranger, know what it's like to respect them if you disagree.
Yep.
What you're doing right now. Jack, you weren't afraid to call me. You called and we found a way to work this out, and your schedule didn't allow and mine didn't, but you stuck in there, and so I'm here. I think that most of all, the best advice I can give you, you already proved you do. But to those people who might be watching or listening, it's work. Work hard.
Sure.
Every day, work hard.
Awesome. Well, we just want to thank you for coming on today. It was a little tough finding all of our schedules to meet and collide, but we made it happen. And thank you for coming down here. This was awesome. We learned a lot, and it was great.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. So one thing that we do at the end of our show every time is give you a bag of seeds from Giant Snacks.
So I did score some.
You called it before
you go.
even. Before
I didn't
you
know
even
that.
Knew, before you even knew. There you go. You got 2. There we go.
There we go.
Have
These
you ever
will
had
not-
the sweet Thai chili?
No, but I will.
There you go.
These will not make it through May.
There we go.
It's lake season now.
Yeah. Be good. It's a good snack for out at the lake.
I love Giants.
Yes. There we go. Thank you, Giant Snacks, Brushmark Signs, Digital Guru, Woods and Irons, and All Sauger Meats for sponsoring this episode. We will see you guys next week on Monday at 6 p.m. Make sure you guys tune in, like, subscribe, and leave a comment what you guys think about this episode, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace. Nice.